5 o'clock work session. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, before I invite Ben up to do our blessing today, I would like to have a moment of silence. Franklin County lost a very important person here. I think everybody knows Mike Herod. He was the county coroner for over 40 years, and now his son Will continues that legacy. So if we could just give Mike a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask Ben to come up. And how are you doing, sir?
Doing fine. My name's Ben Griffith. I'm with the Frankfurt Interfaith Council, and my wife Patricia and I are here tonight representing Quakers in our community. And I'll share our blessing tonight. May we pray. Dear God, as we try to comprehend the destruction that flooding causes to our people and community, our hearts grieve. Be with those who have lost homes as we pray for their shelter. Be with those who have lost livelihoods as we pray for their financial security and recovery. Especially be with those who are mourning the loss of a loved one. We pray that they know your comfort and everlasting love. Lord God, we pray that you give strength to those who are providing support to those affected by floods, for governments, for emergency services, for faith leaders, and for neighbors. We hold these up for endurance, resilience, compassion. And now, especially for this fiscal court, we ask that they find your wisdom and love as they make decisions on our behalf, the citizens of Franklin County. May they become beacons of light to us all as they help lift us and lead us. Amen.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you and your lovely wife there for everything you do for our community. So thank you.
We're out of here.
Don't blame me. Can I go? All right. And now, is there any public comments tonight? Seeing no public comments, we're going to ask the, looks like the regional jail is going to give their quarterly update. Is that you, Shane?
Yes, for now. Excuse me, Court, I want to apologize on behalf of the jailer. She is with her district judges right now out at the jail, as we're maybe preparing to hold court out there, so she's still out there. So just want to go through our quarterly report. Go ahead, Andrew. Just a quick facility update and maybe on the work items for tonight. Our control panel bids, if we received them, and I think they're being submitted tonight. We have the major and the maintenance staff have gotten together, and they're created a preventative maintenance schedule for the entire facility now, that we actually have a schedule that we're going through and trying to stay on top of some of those maintenance things that they don't go outside of our budget, and we can plan, have a better plan for them, I should say. As far as painting, we are, as we are freeing up space, we're beginning to try to put some lipstick on the jail and freshen it up a little bit, make it a little bit nicer.
I heard if you paint it, it can last 40 years. Is that true? That's what somebody told me.
If I mean, keep applying I guess you keep putting enough paint on it. Yeah.
Did you say 40 more?
Yeah, 40 more. Yeah, that's what I heard. If you paint it, 40 more years.
As of today, we're still at 43 staff. We have 0 vacancies. We continue to do a good job. Our Captain Smith and Major Lane do a good job of keeping them coming and recruiting them. And it's not to say we don't have a little bit of turnover as people come out and realize the job isn't for them, but we constantly have people on deck and ready to go. So Just a quick population breakdown. I want to share your population today. We're at 257 inmates. 40 of those are from Anderson County. They're our state inmates. New on that list is we have 2 federal inmates. We're housing 2 federal inmates currently. And we'll talk a little bit more about that federal contract here coming up. Go ahead, Andrew, please. Just our jail income. Those are the numbers through through March. Right now it's 1.2 million. The jail we've received coming into this last quarter. So we're hoping that I know we'll add some more, but we're hoping to kind of beef that up as we enter this last quarter of the fiscal year. Just want to talk about our new contract that we have. We've secured a contract with the federal government. We'll be housing both male and female inmates. The potential income, and I say that's being full capacity 365 days. So we're never going to be full capacity 365 on federal, but it does have the potential of $536,000 source of income. What we're waiting on now, the final piece to this is they want to come out and do a jail inspection and meet their federal standards. We're not concerned. Like I said, we're currently housing 2 federal inmates for them already. So that is beginning to come to light. Just wanted to share, the jailer wanted to share a couple she's began the Employee of the Month program. She gives them a little gift card every month. At the end of the year, those people that become the Employee of the Month have an opportunity to be the Employee of the Year, and she's got something special planned for them at the end of the year. But they just wanted to share Sergeant Hallman and Deputy Rogers and Deputy Edwards. They are our first 3 of the first quarter of our Employees of the Month. I think it's really helpful. Our morale seems to be up out there, which is really positive. Also wanted to share with you one of the things the jailer was big on when she ran. She talked about training, and you're looking at the person's in charge of that. And she and I have sat down and we've recently developed our plan for getting the entire facility trained. Yesterday, the health department came out and they actually trained our staff in how to use Narcan, something that needed to be done. We are working currently with the health department to come out and make sure everybody's current on their CPR certification. We are increasing next week. We're going to increase the number of MRT facilitators to help do our MRT as it's a program. It's beneficial not only for our inmates, but it's also beneficial to us because we get paid for them attending class and we get paid when they graduate class. So it is a small source of revenue, but it also, by increasing the facilitators, we can offer more classes at different times. We recently also did every volunteer that we have, and we've got about 60 volunteers right now, which is awesome. Coming out and doing different things from Alcoholics Anonymous to Bible study, different types of volunteers. We recently held a training for them, and something that they're required to go through, and as of today, everyone's current and their background check is current. So. And then last thing is we're working and we've developed a new booking and release training for our staff. That seems to be where most of the errors occur out there in the booking process, and we're doing the best we can to mitigate those through training. Just wanted to also share with you, just April 1st was our first SAP SOAR graduation. We had 12 graduates from that program. A lot of those ladies went on from the SAP program into the SOAR program, and it was pretty good experience for those that came out. We appreciate you coming out. I think you got to see what that is, and we're hopeful that we're changing lives and slowly closing the doors of the jail, but these women will never come back, we hope. But that was a great event. Just want to share with you also at our community service, it's mowing season. We've got 12 work sites that we are going out, got crews going out and mowing. We also are partnering now with Waste Management here. I guess the city is not able to do litter control, so the jail, we're in the process of doing it. We would have started last week was the plan, but now the flood hit, we've kind of hit pause, but our goal is to begin next week. I sat down today with our female community person, and we've got a plan on what roads we're going to be hitting to start picking up litter. And just wanted to share our partnership with Humane Society. We're pretty proud. So far, we've fostered 3 dogs, and 2 of them have been adopted, so we are proud about that. And we now have, starting next week, we will have some females going to the Humane Society every day to help them over there as needed. Just wanted to share, we're proud of our staff. We had some staff that came in when the water was rising, as well as some of our Class D inmates. They've came down and they helped in the clerk's office to help next door with Hancock, and then also as out there in the road department, we wanted to give them a shout out because we had staff that came in just to work on a last second. And so we're proud of the work they've done. The jailer walked in, she's been out, there's a few pictures, if you've been out in our gymnasium, it now looks like a courtroom. We're ready, and jailer, if you want to talk about that,
We just finalized our plans for holding court at the jail, in the gym, and we'll meet with court security in the morning. Judge Wingate will do his final executive order tonight. We just were wrapping that up. My apologies to you guys for being late. Sorry. Shane, I'll let you finish since you started it.
I think we're about done. I think
Okay.
Andrew, maybe one more. Just wanted to share with you all, all the good, there is sometimes some bad come from this, but we always want to be transparent. Our Class D work program, there was back in February, our major, we secured 20 felony indictments. 4 of our Class D inmates, as well as someone in the public, was trying to smuggle drugs into the facility, and unfortunately enough, it was stopped, and unfortunately, we've had to move forward with the indictment, so we did want to share that. It's an ongoing battle out there trying to keep that facility safe from drugs, and fentanyl is the scariest thing that we've ever come across, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at keeping that. That's all I have, unless you all have some questions for us.
I know the jail has a couple items on their agenda tonight, so this isn't going to be the only time they're going to be up there, but any questions on their quarterly report? Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you all so much for being with us. I know you shared the potential income from the federal inmates at over $500,000. You have a realistic estimate of what, or have you all kind of tried to work at that? Because like we said, we're never going to house the maximum number, 365 days. I mean, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, just trying to figure out where that really lands.
Probably a quarter, probably at 75% of that. Let's be honest. I said potential, but honestly, when we plan the budget, it'd be about 75%.
So we think we're going to be like 400,000?
$400 some odd thousand. Yeah, because like I said, we've got 2 out there now, and once the jail inspection, the major can speak to that.
Well, the contract,
That's a lot.
the contract was for 36. We figured the income on 20, just so we didn't overextend. So that's 30 males and 6 females, but we figured everything at 20 just because we'd rather give you a surprise at the end of the year than a good surprise.
A good surprise.
Yeah.
A good surprise.
I have a question, just for my information. There's 2 out there now. How long does a federal inmate normally stay? Are they overnight traveling through town, or are they there for weeks or months or years?
We will occasionally get those that are traveling through, like these are new drug indictments that just occurred with these 2. A federal case can run anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months to, until their sentencing time.
So these have not been adjudicated yet?
No. And our location being here with the court, with the federal court, across the street, puts us back on the map for bringing those federal inmates back to Franklin County.
If I can just add, Squire, majority of the people we're going to be dealing with are going to be pretrial detainees, so people that have not been adjudicated. So, it will vary.
1 second. I will do Squire Sebastian and Squire Davis.
Thank you, Judge. just one other question about the courtroom. We know that there was a severe impact to our the old and the addition there. Thankful for all the hands that came in the middle of the night and did a lot of the work. But now we know that the court rooms are going to be split up, some at AOC, some in your facility,
Yes.
many of that. So can you talk to us about what's going to be held at the jail? Because I think there's like a secure side for maybe the judges to come through. There's an external door for people to come in. So if you
Yes.
could talk to us
Sure.
just a little bit about
So-
that, just so everybody understands how that's going to
Yeah,
work.
we just did our walkthrough with the district judges. When they'll park up there,
So it's district court?
and we'll have circuit on Fridays.
Okay, district and circuit.
Tuesday, so
That was my
Tuesdays
thing.
is 9, 10, and 1 for criminal court. We'll always do our video arraignments out there still, and I don't know the location of the judges where they will be when we do video arraignment. Friday, this coming Friday, will be our first. Judge Wingate and Judge Shepard want to keep their times at, 9:30 and whatever time after that, 9 and 10:30. They had originally talked about coming out there in the morning for jail arraignments or for jail traffic in custody. And Judge Wingate changed that today and said he wanted to just do all of his court there on Fridays. In custody and public. So with that, what that looks like is court security will have staff there. They will enter from an exterior door to the gym. And the judges will be in wait in our conference room. And when they're ready for them, jail staff will escort them to the jail and through the jail to there. Court security will be inside and running the magnetometer outside. They could possibly do something on a Thursday. We will meet back in 2 weeks and look at how things are running, what works. We've also offered up today our classroom, and that gives them another space to put clerks. I don't know, I think they visited Mr. Comley's space today to see if they could get in there, and we're just trying to, open any space that we can available to the clerks and to the judges and their staff. So we know court will be every day. 2 days solid will be in person. The other days will be by video arraignment. Judge Wingate was finishing writing his order tonight, so we'll know more tomorrow on how many days they will hold arraignments.
Thank you. So will AOC or does the county have to, I guess, I'm trying to figure out if there are any funds that will flow as a result of that, because we've had to
Yes.
make some changes and adjust some things
Right.
in the jail
Yes.
appropriately. So if there's any of that,
Yeah, and that was a discussion that I talked to Jack about, if he would lead that discussion with AOC as far as, any compensation for rent per square footage by AOC, how this happens, and it does happen.
Yep.
But the court will run that, the jail will not ask for the rent, the court will ask for the rent.
Yep, yeah, we talked about that today. It's a good
Okay.
call, though. Squire Dykes.
thanks.
I just want to, number one, just congratulate them because they're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And we got to go to the I guess, SOAR graduation, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you all that you can just see it in these women's faces. Like, they are proud of themselves. You can just see them beam, and they're headed in the right direction. And they were laughing and happy and so excited. And Shepherd's House seems to be doing a fantastic
are.
job. I did want to ask a question. I know that we had one net device that we thought was going to be used one day. Did that happen?
No, they had a closed brain injury and was not able to.
Okay, all right.
Squire, one of the things that we're running into, and they were out today, we have another one that we're waiting on their medical records to determine who
Right.
can move forward.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, what we're really realizing is there's a lot of people on psych meds. That's
Oh,
really
yes.
negating a lot of this. But the good news is the net people are there every day. We're in communication. They're screening them. It's just, we have a lot of sick people in this community
Yeah,
that
we do.
we're dealing with.
But thank you all. I mean, I think it's going really well. And when I was over there and we were looking for a place and all of that, I mean, I think it's gonna be an awesome partnership. I really do. So thank you all so much for all the
Thank
hard
you.
work, all of you.
Thank you.
Squire Whisper.
I suppose you said the federal contract is in review or in process already?
We have already done all of our paperwork. We're just waiting for the federal inspector. He comes out, looks at the jail, and, we've already had 2 people from the federal government that said, yes, it's approved, we are going to do it. Now the inspector comes out and, does what the federal inspector does. And we're hoping that that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Melissa had said that it is on a schedule, and, I'm not going to ask someone what their schedule is. I'm not going to ask a federal inspector to tell me what day he's going to be there, because I think it's one of those, a surprise, where they just come and visit you.
Can we circulate that contract or whatever ultimately is the scope of that contract to this body? And I
Yeah,
assume
absolutely.
Has Max reviewed that, anything yet, or do you have input on that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually would say that it's a still standing existing contract. It's just the feds removed their inmates for reasons that I won't go into here prior to us coming back in. So the contract is still in effect. They just said, we're not sending people out there anymore. So after our conversation and the tour of the jail, they were impressed enough that they said that they will put that contract back in force, and we can certainly get a copy of it.
Do y'all know if there's an end date on that contract, just out of curiosity? It's like a 5-year contract, or do we know
Not
that?
that I'm aware of.
It's that we'll have, 36 inmates there in your facility. But because they have been gone for such a long time, they require an inspection again.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys. Cartana?
Well, it would seem to me like that Mr. Conley should look at that
Yeah,
contract.
I think if you all could share that with Max, that'd be
Yeah, we'll
good.
send it out. Like I said, they just made it went from active to inactive, but we'll be happy to, we'll
Yeah,
send it to
I think it'd be good to put
First
some
thing
eyes
tomorrow.
on it.
Yeah,
first thing tomorrow.
we got it in the last court because one of the negotiation points of that contract, and again, it's in force, was to raise the rate.
Yeah.
I know you guys remember
Vaguely
that for
remember
sure,
that,
was to
yeah.
raise the rate.
Yeah.
And to set a number.
Yeah.
So we could kind of
Long
anticipate
time ago.
some income, but it has been
Yeah.
a hot minute.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Alrighty. Duke, I think it's gonna be your show tonight. I don't know who's more tired, you or us, Yeah, exactly. Let's give Duke a round of applause. Him and his team. So Duke, what have y'all been up to?
Well, I was gonna say, probably don't need to report what we've been doing, but it has been a sad couple of weeks for Franklin County, I'll say that, but,
Sure has. Man, that seems like forever ago when we did that. Good Lord.
right, that was
Yeah.
on the 5th.
Was it right?
Yeah,
So
it was in the middle of chaos, and
we were scrambling.
I called the judge, and the city was down there bagging sand by hand. And I asked him if we could go help them. He said, absolutely. So we took our bagger and went down there, and it was a huge success. So,
And I will say, in addition to that, I want to give a plug out, and I've talked to Phil there about doing a story, but Lee Brick and Block, after that night, Keith Lee called me and he said, I can have 600 bags there in the morning already packed, by noon. And that's when we really knew it was going to get bad. And so I called him back. I said, is there any way you could have that driver here at 9 a.m.? And let me tell you, he didn't stop running semis all day. I think they brought
Yeah, it was
5,000
crazy.
bags.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if they wouldn't have done that, a lot of this downtown would have been under.
right.
I mean, especially near the candy factory and all that. I mean, they were 5-6 foot high.
I
And
think it
up.
was 6 or 8 tractor trailer loads
Yeah.
of sand they brought in, bagged sand.
Yeah, so anyways, not
pretty
taking away
awesome
from
to see.
anything you and the city
Yeah.
did, but we were running as
Oh,
hard
it
as
was
we
huge
could.
help, yes, no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But, I mean, it was really awesome to see the city and county be able to work together. That's a proud moment to work for the county, I'll tell you that. I've really never seen it before, so.
Yeah, and I will tell the court, when I was at the governor's press conference, the state people from FEMA came up and they said, let me tell you, Franklin County's shining right now. They said, we work all over this state, but typically the mayor and the judges hate each other, and we have to deal with two different offices during a crisis situation, which I couldn't imagine.
She told me the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she
So
was-
it's been good, so.
But, and I'll tell you something else, that grapple truck has been a lifesaver through this
Yep.
trash removal. I mean, I'm glad we got it.
Andrea, have more pictures? Or is that it?
That's some of our employees down, placing those sandbags.
What's that?
That's all of it.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I got a late start on that, that's my
No.
fault, but I will tell you guys, as far as, we've got some roads that's in pretty bad shape from all this rain and flooding. And there's a few of them that's gonna be expensive, fixes, cause it's not something you can.
I was
Right,
in a KCO training today, and they talked about that quite a bit, and so they're trying to get us some help with that. Keep
We're
our
gonna need
fingers
it.
crossed on that. Yeah, they know that we need it. I mean, they know we're in trouble, so.
And I'll tell you, the guys, it was amazing, really. They worked their butts off, and I never heard one complain. Out of all the hours we worked, they didn't complain a bit, so that meant a lot.
Go ahead, Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Are the guys, there are lots of community organizations right now that are running meals. Are the guys getting
Every
like
day,
things,
somebody's
help
bringing lunch.
from the
and
community?
that-
I'm just trying to, because people that are cleaning their homes, there are people calling, friends that you're reconnecting with, and they're bringing food. Is
Right.
there a way just to make sure, but if you guys are eating, that,
Well, I'm not sure who organized it,
We're
but
organizing that, so basically what we had so many people reach out, businesses, things like that, banks who said, we want to help. Well, we have so many food trucks and so many, the kitchen that's been set up down at,
pick pack.
thank you, and the Red Cross, they're all supplying food to everybody. So we're using basically our local businesses to feed city and county staff, and I think it's through next week. So, I mean, they've,
That's great.
Duke even said the other day, I think my guys are getting a little spoiled. They have lunch here every day.
getting fat for sure.
I want to say,
that.
I want to say too, they're not, just so everybody knows, they're not going to be at Pick Pack tomorrow,
Yeah.
like for the rest of the week, so just everybody know that.
Yeah, but I think.
But we do have food trucks coming out
And
everywhere.
I think Red Cross is gonna step their food up Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
down there.
But we're
because-
also going to have like lots of local businesses.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're in really good shape, and those guys do eat well because I've passed food out to them.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
No, it's been an amazing thing. We've had food trucks from all over, and I mean, even, we'll talk about the one at the Easter egg thing a little bit, but, yeah, it's, anybody else have anything for Duke? I know he's tired.
Thank you, guys.
Squire Wiseman?
Absolutely.
Judge, we're gonna ask the guys to work even longer with the cleanup coming
This
up this
weekend.
weekend. I hope you will consider giving them some well-deserved time off after that. I think we can afford a little
We're
bit of
talking
time,
about it.
hopefully, after
Yep,
an additional weekend of working here coming up.
absolutely. Duke, I just wanna say thank you. You know, you and I have talked 100 times this week, probably, early, night, whenever, so, it's been tough, so I appreciate you guys. It's been a lot.
Duke, I'll add one more to your list. I was just out at Stony Creek, the bridge where we repaired that before the embankments coming through that guardrail.
Yes, sir. We've got a claim in with FEMA on that one from the last flood, so.
And then Paul's Grove, I'm concerned that the bank has shifted under that roadway as
Yes, we
expected.
we actually went in there last week and this week and built a temporary, shifted the road over, next to the landowner's fence.
You did this since we're out there.
So,
Thank you.
Duke, thank you,
Good.
buddy.
Thank
Go
y'all.
get some rest. Okay. All righty, judge's report. see what we have on, March 19th, we started our budget meetings, and I want to thank everybody who's on the Finance Committee and the budget, and Amy, our treasurer, and everybody. It's, and all department heads. I think this year has been the best year by far. We've feel good about it, and I know we have a meeting tomorrow. On the 20th, I did a first time kind of a distillery, coffee and connections with, some of the bourbon and brew pubs around here, trying to make some connections with all of them, so they can start working together on some things. And honestly, just seeing what they need from us to support them. On the 20th, we went and served meals at the activity center, just to kind of bring awareness to what they do out there with the seniors. That's always good. I know a lot of y'all did that. On the 24th, geez, this seems like so long ago. On the 24th, Allie and I went to Western Hills. They won the recycled can contest, I think by far. So I know it was close. I think between them and Alley Capital Day, is that the one that was close? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were neck and neck to the end. So so that was nice to take them to check. And 25th, we did a really big deal for all of our industrial companies here. So we, the Delegate Hotel helped us out on it, and we had a very good, I think we had 13 or 14 different industry people there, and we had Thornhill, and we just kind of talked about all the things that are available in this community for their employees mostly. We're just trying to pull everybody together, because I don't think it's really been done before, to say, hey, what can we do to help you all? You know, I know workforce is a big thing, but what else? So that was a really good meeting. A couple of y'all were there also, so thank you. 26, plant board taping, a monthly deal. Allie and I went on, I think, yeah, we did our thing on there. 26, they had the King Center bike shed ribbon cutting. That was kind of cool. See those kids there, and look at that kid there. Yeah, he's excited, so glad to be a part of that. 28th was a surplus sale, and I just want to thank all the department heads. You all really came through on that one. We've been asking for a while about anything you all don't use to put up for sale, and I know it's well over $100,000 worth of things that were sold. So that was always good. Jailer said on April 1, we had the graduation at the jail. Super cool. Hard to keep composure. There was a lot of excitement in that room. Kind of reminded me of like a leadership retreat. Like those girls are that close. It was like they just got done a big leadership class together, and they were like best friends. So it was really good to see. On the 10th, it was a last minute thing. Buffalo Trace called about a big press conference. You know how much they love the press, but they talked about how they're reopening, and they did. I don't know how they pull off what they do down there, but there's Harlan speaking there. It was a great press conference, attended by probably 15 national and local TV cameras. Glad that they're somewhat up and running. I know that's Tyler, that's the new general manager there. I think they're hoping, I think by next week, to maybe even start doing some tours again. I mean, they started bottling. I mean, they've sent a truck or two out of there, and even in that makeshift where you used to check in, it was, I bet it was 12 feet up on that wall. You could see the mark, but I mean, you couldn't find a piece of dirt in that place. It was pretty cool how they cleaned it out. So glad to see them up and running. They're a big part of our community. And then on the 12th, you know, we went back and forth, but we said, you know what, let's do Easter. We don't want to take it away from the kids, and I'm so glad we did. It was an amazing day. You couldn't ask for much better weather. Fire department was there, police department was there. We had the horse, the bunnies, KSU, tons of people. But then what was really cool too is a food truck from Somerset showed up, and they said, we're just going to cook for you all. And they cooked brats, hamburgers, and hot dogs, and they didn't stop. And they just cooked and cooked and cooked. And then Hoggies, we called them, and they said, yeah, we're going to come. We're going to donate it all. So we had as probably many kids getting food and ice cream as we did hunting for eggs this year. But they all had big smiles on their faces, and it was good. It was good to talk to a lot of people. You know, there were some pretty emotional people there because, you know, they too had lost things. Thought it was cool. The city, you know, we have so many families staying down at the Capitol Plaza Hotel. They went ahead and brought the transit trucks in and brought a bunch of the kids from the hotel out there. Oh, there's Tina. She did rock it. Stewart Home came out there and used the accessible area. Sherry, I'm gonna ask you: what did I miss? I'm tired. Help me.
So, a couple of things I want to really spotlight is Franklin County High School did a couple of things for us. Not only did they face paint, the dance team, but we also had the IT department design. I thought about what kind of signage can we get that helps direct people. So, quick call to JW. He relayed the information to the IT folks out there at the Career and Technical Center. They came up with this, put the design to work. The carpenter class built the stands to put those in. They liked them so much, the governor used them. So, I mean, I'm telling you, you know, real good ideas about, you know, things like that. I reached out to Allie and said, you know, we have a lot of kids come a lot of times and they don't have Easter bags. But we didn't want to use plastic. So Allie was like, I'm on it. So she and Abby got together, we put up a tent, and they had a create your own Easter bag out there you could decorate, and the kids were like coloring and putting stickers on there, and so many kids used that. As a matter of fact, Stewart Home was able to use some of that stuff, so it was just a phenomenal roundout. You know, Kiwanis always comes and helps with on-site registration. We had Multiply Church come and kind of help folks. You know, we had our county attorney out there helping run eggs, as most of the squires were doing, to different places, because so many kids, after they hunted once and then went and got some ice cream, came back for a second round of all that, because it's, who doesn't want to take home 100 eggs? We had set up another egg recycling station, so when kids got the candy out of there, so we've got some eggs to circulate for next year. So many good things. You know, can't talk enough about the fire department. The key is our long-term co-partnership with the sheriff's office. We started this 6 years ago with the sheriff and with the sheriff's office.
We got them in trouble the first year, if you remember.
We did. But that was easily explained, and all for the right reason, and it's been just a tremendous partnership ever since. And without them, none of this would be there.
No.
But they stand beside us for so many things, and this is just one of the things.
Yep, no, absolutely, thank you, and it was the right thing to do. Franklin County needed this, especially during this time, but again, another shout out to that food truck in Somerset, and then Hoggies. I mean, I talked to Kenny a couple of days later. He said, well, some of our regular customers are upset because we sold most of our ice cream. I gave most of it away, and so the next day they didn't have any ice cream to sell, as much flavor, so it was good.
The name of the food truck
Oh,
that
yeah.
came from Somerset is One Way Coffee, Snacks, and Sweets.
Yep.
And they rolled in with a tremendous story.
Yep.
And communicated that through Somerset, and people that don't even know our neighbors here like we do, now they are connected in a tremendous way.
Yep.
So it was a huge collaboration, truly, of love to help people that they didn't even know that day.
Yep.
And I mean, they rolled in and started preparing that stuff as soon as they rolled in. At 10:45 started cooking, and well after 2:30 they were still
Yep.
cooking food.
Yep.
It
No,
was
great.
incredible. It was incredible.
And then the next day, Andrew didn't have, I don't think, I forgot to tell him this one. The next day was the governor's Easter egg hunt, and it was funny because, you know, I saw her stuff down there. I think JW's sister.
I had to go back and get the stuff.
Yeah. But it was funny. So as the governor's standing up there thanking everybody, he goes, and I want to thank J.W. Blackburn. And I stood there, and he's like, and the Fiscal Court. And your sister is laughing. She's like, how'd you like it? I threw him in front of you all. I said, that's fine. He did a lot of the work. Yeah. So the governor was very appreciative. So that was nice. And then on the 14th, I, along with our new representative, Erica Hancock, did KET Live. That was a really cool show. That was broadcasted all over the state, just about what Franklin County and Frankfort are going through right now. Because out of the 86 of the communities that were hit in this disaster, Franklin County is one of the worst ones. We're in the top 3. So, you know, Woodford had about 200 homes hit. Jessamine about 42, and we're 514 plus. So that's all at different levels. So we're still analyzing all that. Okay, so that's, and I could go on and talk about the flood, but I think we do a separate thing on the flood. There's so many people to thank and so many things to do, so I'm gonna keep moving if that's okay with you all. Andrew, did you put this up here? So I had a request, Autumn, yeah, come on up. So right before we came in, Autumn said, I need your guys' help. we're not getting enough surveys back on this SS4A grant. So she gave you all these, I believe. I know enough about this program to get in trouble. And I said, are you going to be at court tonight? She said, yes. And I said, well, why don't you just get up and tell us what it is? Autumn?
So last fall, we were awarded a federal SS4A, that's Safe Streets for All, grant for $200,000 to create a traffic safety action plan. So we're working with HMB. They're sifting through the crash data and analyzing that data. But the plan is intended to help us create safer streets for everyone who's traveling in our community, and that includes pedestrians, if you're riding a bike, if you're on a scooter, whatever that may be. And the consultants, they can analyze that crash data, they can look at, the geometry of the roads and that sort of thing. But where there are different perceptions of safety or unsafety, or where there are places that are near misses are happening, but maybe not a crash, but it's just a matter of time until one happens. So that's why this survey is so important, to get people's actual day-to-day lived experience. And we've not gotten a lot of responses to the survey. Tina was out at the Easter hunt handing out these flyers. We've got them posted at a few places in town, and we're going to try to get them posted some more. We've got tons of these if any of you all want to take some, if anybody's going to church on Sunday for Easter. But yeah, so if you guys can help us out with that, we'd really appreciate it.
Judge Whitman, I wanted to ask, I thought about this yesterday, with all that's been going on the last 10 days in the community, it almost feels like we need to restart this. And I was going to bring it up tonight anyway.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if we could extend the
Yes.
deadline. I'd love to see it go through the end of the month, because I feel like we've got to shift everyone's perception now.
Yes.
Get, a visual on this and have a good community impact. Everyone that I'd sent it out before had completely forgotten it at this
Yeah.
point. So.
Yeah, so we were intending to have a stakeholder meeting earlier this week with a larger group of folks, and that got rescheduled to next week. So that's our stakeholder meeting, and then we have extended the survey deadline, I believe, to April 30th. We could potentially extend it out longer if we needed to, I think. But, well, probably not much longer than that because some other deadlines that we're working with. But we have extended it, and we do, we'll probably try to do a little bit more social media and stuff like that, but we didn't want to do that in the midst of all of the other things that were going on. So,
Autumn, remind me next month when we do the Cable 10 deal. Why don't you go with me? We'll really push this out.
oh, that's another thing. Ben and I are actually going to be on Cable 10 on Friday to talk
There you
about
go.
this. So,
Don't
Yes.
need, there you
That's
go.
awesome.
Yeah, go ahead, Squire.
Thank you, Judge. So I had a constituent of Squire Tanner's actually reach out to me. Squire Tanner was just not available at that time. And I went out to their home, and they live on Evergreen Road, right almost in front of the fire station, where it is a straight stretch, people speed, there's no shoulder to the road. All the mailboxes are on one side of the road, so you have to cross the street.
yeah.
Someone was actually killed out there years ago, crossing the street to get their mail. I've been in contact with the postmaster. There's a new postmaster, so he's about to hear from me again.
Yeah.
But when Nick Stone was here, he heard from me often about that, because it is a huge hazard. There are drop-offs in the yards where the mailbox is. So the questions that I got from some of the homeowners when I went out there that Sunday afternoon to see them was, do I need to fill out just one survey? Because will all of my input
Right.
be gauged the same? Because all of these things are important, like
Sure.
the mailboxes not being on my side of the street.
Yeah.
It's the Indianapolis 500, and I have to be ready to run, and
Right.
a lot of seniors live out there, and they can't make it across. It is
Yeah.
a cataclysmic issue there,
Yeah.
and at many other places too.
So the survey is mostly sort of multiple choice questions where you can select either one or several answers. There is a question at the end that's more open-ended where you can type in a box, whatever you have to say. There's also a really cool section where there's a map where you can actually zoom into wherever it is and drop a pin and type out what your issue is there. I don't think that there is a limit on that. But if anyone runs into trouble with the survey or anything, they can reach out to me. And if they find that they can't get enough information submitted in one round, I think it would be fine for them to go ahead and submit again.
Okay, that was just a question because
Yeah.
I shared that with them. I said, this is your perfect opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
To say all of the things that you're telling me.
Yeah.
So,
And this study is looking at all of Franklin County, so including the city, and with the hopes that, once we have an established traffic safety plan, that not only can the county reapply for SS4A grants, but the city can also apply using our action plan. So kind of benefit everybody, so.
all right, thank you.
Judge, I just wanted to to voice, if we can, Autumn, exactly what we're looking for. You know, in my mind, this is an instance where a really rural road that has a blind curve could be an example, or a straight stretch in the highway in the city where people like to fly too fast. It can be perceived, dangerous issues of any type, whether a road is too narrow in an area, any kind of conflict we've had. But specifically, I wanted to ask now about flooding. I've had, a couple of roads where people were inaccessible, could not get out for almost a week now, and I'm imagining this is a perfect instance to inform that, or where roadways have shifted or culverts and things because of flooding. Should we include those type of items, do you think?
I don't think it can hurt to include them in the public input stage. We're just assessing all of the input that we can get. I don't know how that sort of thing will play into the overall action plan, but I certainly think it's valid to include.
All right, thank you, Autumn.
Thanks.
I guess that's something I just reported. All righty, let's go ahead and jump into authorization approval of minutes from the regular meeting of March 19, 2025. Any
Judge, could I ask you for some, during your report, you mentioned the surplus auction. Can we get an itemized listing of all those sales?
by department or what?
I'm just wondering about just generally what things sort of sold for. There was a couple questions in the community about what certain items sold for in that sale, and we're amending a budget, so I thought it'd be good to know what the revenue streams, were from that.
And the way we're treating that is Amy had broken it down minus the fee from the auctioneer, and then was gonna put each one into their
Into the
budgets.
departments, yeah.
So, yeah.
I'd just like to have that. Thanks.
It's in there, maybe not what.
Not itemized.
All right, no questions on that?
So can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So are you asking to see, like, if 10 feet of fire hose sold, do you want to know exactly what the 10 feet of fire hose? I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
I'm assuming there's an itemized report from the auction about every item and what it sold for that would be easy just to pass on to us. Typically, that's my experience with auctions, that we would have got a report like that, so.
So somebody from
There's
the
a few
community's
items.
asking about, like, what, 10 feet? I'm just.
No, some of the
trying to make
bigger
sure.
items I've had questions about that I thought that would be the easiest way to, address some of those questions.
Okay. All right. Number 3, authorization approval of minutes from April 1. Any questions on these? All righty, seeing none, I believe we have the clerk's quarterly report. All righty. I believe Sheriff is with us. How you doing, Sheriff? Huh?
Last time I jumped ahead, I made sure to
It's
wait.
okay. Well, before you start, I want to say thank you to you and your team. We've talked nonstop these last 12 days or whatever the heck it's been, and I want to acknowledge Boone County and Shelby County for stepping up and sending us, especially for the night shift. They've really stepped up and have sent extra people in here to help us, keep our neighborhoods and county safe.
And Scott County,
And Scott, I thought I said Scott, didn't I?
maybe.
Boone, Scott. Boone and Scott, right? Did I miss it? There was
I
those
think
two.
that's the theory.
I said Shelby? No, what?
It's okay, you're tired.
I am tired.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going, because I don't even know what I just said. Go.
No, it's been good. It's been a good partnership. And, typically the city helps us, we help them, but we're both in literally the same boat this time. So we've had to bring in some help, and it's all worked out, so.
No, it's been really good, but I appreciate everyone, everyone's help. It's taken everybody to get through this, and y'all have done great, so. All right, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I'm not asking for anything, and it's all good news, so.
Y'all better write this date down.
So after we collected all the taxes, or currently all the taxes for '24, we'll still have franchise coming in. Our '24 fees account reconciled, and we gave Amy the excess fees back on March 14th, and we actually gave her $1,130.70 more than we budgeted, so that's good. It was originally budgeted at $44.90, and she got $56.23.70, so that's good news.
Good deal. Thank you very much. Squire Sebastian has a hand up.
Yep, thank you, Judge. So first, I also want to thank you very much, because my neighborhoods out in the county
Yep.
are extremely appreciative of everything that you're doing to protect their homes and their property right now.
Thank you, I
In a
appreciate it.
time when it's extremely trying and there are some issues out there. So thank you for that. My second question is, can you give and shed a little bit of light to the court, maybe an update on the implementation of the Motorola contract for the body cams. And then
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about the existing contract and the process for that, how we're
Sure.
easing out of that contract.
Well, the
Please.
good,
Thank
I'll
you.
talk about the contract second, but the good news is, our investment's paying off. We appreciate you all for helping us on the first payment. We have 7 of the 15 installed in the vehicles. And the remaining 8 will be completed by next Friday, 4/25. They're putting about 2 in a day. So those are done. We have the body cams and they're gonna be deployed on April 29th. There's a little bit of transition when we're switching, so that's the day that all the deputies will have their new body cams. As far as, the current contract, I know our legal team with Max is working on some documents. I'm sure he doesn't want me saying too much, but he is working on it. Of course, he got moved out too, I think, so whenever we gave him the emails, and there was plenty of things that we had to support it, so I think we'll come out okay, hopefully.
Great, okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you too.
Any other questions for the sheriff about excess fees? Chris, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Should I run?
Yeah, I'd
Thank you.
go.
Thank you.
I'd go if I could.
Thanks to everybody down there for helping us.
Okay. So now we have 4 items for the jail.
We had 3 bids that we had made the court aware of about the isolation valves, the main control tower board and the tower control board, and the new camera system. We put the jobs out to bid, have supplied the court with the results of that.
Questions? So I do want to run, sorry, I'm chewing ice, shouldn't be. Amy and I spoke about this earlier, and I think we're all aware of all 4 of these items here. So it's our understanding, I'm just going to kind of jump around, is that
Sure.
okay, Major? The main control and control tower is $59,160, and you all got a grant to pay for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then the thought is the jail cameras. We had budgeted $153,000 for fence/cameras, because we thought we were gonna get that grant for the cameras, but we didn't. So, the cost of the cameras is $131,206. That leaves $21,794.
Yes, sir.
Am I doing okay so far?
Yes, sir.
No, it's only because Amy gave these numbers to me. And so, if we go back up to the valves that this court approved prior, but we didn't agree with because we didn't know what sizes, how many, quantity, stuff like that, that's why I went back out. So obviously that number's higher now, but if we take that 21,794 back up there, that brings it down to 52,681 for the valves, and that's cheaper than we originally
Yes,
had
sir.
already approved. Did I
Yes,
get all that right?
Yes, sir.
So, does that make sense to everybody? But when Amy kind of broke that down, and I just thought I would do that with you all, it might help a little bit to know that the cameras per se, let's say, are budgeted. They got a grant for the main control tower, and the valves, so really the valves is the only thing we're gonna have to pay, making, an amendment, but it's 52,681.
So
Go ahead.
we talked about it in finance. We
Yep.
talked about all of this, how the money would flow.
Yep.
At the last court meeting, or maybe one before that, I asked a couple of questions about the contract that we had with a provider who was gonna come in and do some repair work and do some facility upgrades. And I asked the status of that, where we still are in having that group come in and present to the court on the items that they were to repair. Some of the items were gonna be left over for some staff at the jail to repair.
We're gonna get in that tonight, later.
I'm really glad, because I feel like I ask it
No,
pretty
well,
dang often.
We've been working on it, so
I have no
that's,
doubt,
that's gonna
but I
be,
think this body is really concerned.
Yeah.
And I'll let others step up and speak to that concern.
well, we can hold that for closed, okay?
I'm hanging on.
Yep. Squire Blackburn.
I was looking at this, are we talking 12 valves?
Doesn't say.
No.
It-
It's,
The documents though say 12.
12 plus or minus, what they
Yeah.
say.
yeah, 12 plus or minus.
That's about $6,200 a valve.
It is 6,200.
Exactly, plus or minus. And the bid is not to exceed, so that's a maximum that we're gonna pay regardless of the issues that they have draining the lines, changing the valves, recharging the lines. So if they run into an issue, they'll have to fix it. They put the plus or minus 12 valves in there on top of that, so we're covered if they run across on top of the 236.
Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes more sense.
Yeah, and
So it may be 250 valves.
it could, but it's
That's-
covered.
Yeah.
It was confusing to me because
Yeah.
I wrote down two numbers. Is it 236 or is it
Well,
12 or
they-
14?
gonna become a plumber.
Yeah, and they
I'm
always,
a pipe fitter,
Yeah,
if it's
they-
coming to that.
they always do the plus or minus in case there's
Yep.
something that they did not count on their initial
Gotcha.
inspection. So,
Because the documents conflict themselves in the.
Yeah, that clears
Yeah.
that up.
It looks conflated
I agree.
in
Yeah.
a way, so,
Squire Wisman.
thank you.
So is the scope of we only have a one-page response here effectively. What holds them to that? Is there more than what we have or what we received that lists out the expectation, the size?
no, the bid that you have is the bid that was submitted for the valves. There
Concerned
were,
about approving something that's fairly vague here. We have the response to the public notice, but it doesn't seem to have enough meat in the contract here for my liking to say exactly what they're covering. And I'm also concerned about something maybe related to the conversation later, but we have a system that was installed in that jail that's supposed to be saving us, some money, and I'm concerned that we may be changing the type of valves, specifically those flush valves. We talked about that before, right?
well, this contract doesn't include flush valves. These are isolation valves throughout the water system, throughout the entire
Well, it's
jail.
not specified for me to know, so I was concerned that we may be invalidating our savings that were supposed to be guaranteed somehow.
Yeah, I think this is the valves that were supposed to be done by the owner.
Yeah, and it is
But
quoted
yeah,
as
it's not spelled
isolation
out there.
valves.
Squire Wisman. It's not.
Yeah,
but
it's not flush valves.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what all types of valves that were installed by the ESG and beyond those flush
They
valves.
didn't do a couple.
I'm not sure.
But I think in that part of the contract, they weren't responsible for many of them.
Correct, not,
Because it was, that part was by owner, but it
ESG
never
had
got
very
done.
specific
Yes.
things that they did.
Yeah,
The isolation valves was
yeah,
not part of it.
correct.
Are we gonna talk about this some more somewhere else?
Yeah, we are.
I got questions about it too.
Yeah,
because
if we can hold
I
that.
agree with,
Yeah, no,
it
no.
gets kind of vague to me when you talk
We're gonna-
about any valve that turns on or off. What the heck does that mean?
We're gonna go close tonight and talk
No,
about it.
he's saying specifically to this contract, right? So it doesn't have specifications here of.
Yeah.
That's true, but
Is that I'm cautious to approve the contract without more meat here about the exact role that the contractor's gonna provide, and types and size and specifications of in-kind replacement, or are they gonna do some of those, stick-tight, pressure valves?
No, HMC is a professional company. They don't use that kind of stuff. I can assure you. The terminology is the terminology. The isolation valves is where we have the ability to shut off the water.
I realize.
they're gonna do it for 50-something thousand. Enjoy.
Okay, any other
But I
questions
mean,
about
they
these
right.
items before we go on to their fourth item? Okay, thank you.
Hold on, Judge, yeah.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Squire. What? Yep.
So I'm down in tab 8, which is the one on the cameras. So my question is with these two bids, there's a 24 camera difference, okay, in the bids. One came in at 155 and change, okay? And then another one came in with 120 cameras. So when buying, there's a little difference there. So I kind of did some math, so I'm trying to figure out, was the choice that we don't need the volume of cameras in one of the bids?
Well, the The
I'm trying to see
original,
the difference.
yes, ma'am, the original parameters for the jail were to replace the cameras as they exist, there are
Yep.
96 existing. We actually have adequate coverage if we can keep them
Okay.
working. This other company came in and they recommended 120 cameras,
Yep.
I guess based on them installing cameras. But I never envisioned going higher than 96, just replacing the system that we have.
Okay, I wasn't sure, because
Yeah.
it didn't give us enough information in there whether to remain with the existing or to go to this other, and I didn't know if the parameters, based on, I read the spec sheet, just to see if we needed additional coverage maybe in some areas that were being repurposed for uses, that when the jail was created,
Right.
maybe those areas weren't used for that purpose.
Well, the
So it wasn't real
cameras,
clear.
yeah, the cameras have evolved over time.
Yep.
But we finally are at a point to where we do have really good coverage with the 96 secure side cameras.
Okay.
The one thing that I would point out between the two companies is Liberty is willing to pull all the dead field wiring,
Yeah, I saw that in there,
and the other company
and that's great to get that
was
out.
not. Yes, it's fantastic. It opens up channels that we may need.
So related, just
Thank you.
the statement by the second company that material and labor to remove 120 existing cameras is just a inaccuracy in their quote.
Correct.
Jill, Alfred, you want to add anything? I noticed you talked about that.
No, I
You
just,
stand your moral support?
no, and for moral support, yes, and then, because we had put some other cameras in outside in the dorm.
Yeah.
That, because we've talked about so many numbers, and those were already something that we had to do in order to get the women out there, so we
Okay,
we took care of
we've
it.
already done some extras.
And
Okay.
I wonder if they said
Any other questions on these three items
specifically
before we move on to the
96?
Amtech Life Safety Contract? I think maybe Laura's getting up to talk about that.
Laura's got that.
Alrighty.
It's 25
Yeah,
cents
Judge.
more.
Oh, you got another one? Squire
Just
Witzman.
the control board, I wonder if you could go into that a little bit about how what is bid, how it relates to the system we have. Is it compatible with everything that we have currently? And
What you're
there's only one
seeing,
bid,
what
so I was concerned.
What this bid is for, we have a very antiquated system. We have some very old technology. With that old technology, we're limited to only one repair technician who still deals with this technology. So when we have to call him for an issue, we have to pay him for traveling, we have to pay him for sleeping in a hotel, we have to pay his hotel. Electronics is not cheap. This new system is serviceable by your choice of people, although the system will come with a warranty, obviously. But it is not the top of the mark for technology at the time. We are a 38-year-old facility. Our aim was to get it to a level to where we're not held hostage by an individual who just happens to still be able to repair that technology.
Well, you're going into my question. I wonder if you can go just a little bit further, because we all know technology changes at the drop of a hat.
Right.
I'm wondering if you can have an estimated lifespan on this system. Is it standard what's being used in many jails?
It is, and from what I understand, and I haven't had them put it in writing, but we certainly could. I think probably the life expectancy of this, as it stands in the current jail, would probably be about 10 years.
That might be nice to have, and that we don't have any kind of follow-up contract with certain providers or anything.
Well, the issue they have with those is any company is only going to give you a year warranty, because your car's not going to break down in the first year most of the time. That's just how business goes. It's going to be incredibly difficult to get somebody to say, hey, we say this will last 10 years, because then you have it in writing, so. But industry standard. When I say industry standard, you'll probably hear that a little more later on.
Squire Tanner.
Yes, I do have a question, or straighten me out, unconfuse me. But the public notice invitation to bid, installation of new camera system totaling 120 cameras. And you're awarding the bidder to the guy that provided 96. I don't know, that don't add up to me. It doesn't add up, I'm sorry. You have to, do we ignore what we put in the paper?
I'm trying to see where we have that there.
The newspaper public notice.
Public
As it
notice
says, there's 120 cameras needed.
120 cameras. So you're gonna turn around and say, well, we was just kidding, so I could have bid 60?
No, that obviously,
That's not
I
what you
wouldn't,
put in the paper.
I wasn't
That's what they
kidding,
bid.
but, that is obviously clerical error. That's no
Well,
attempt
it might have been
to,
an error, but it was in the paper.
well, I understand that. Sometimes there are errors, unfortunately.
Was there,
How would you,
Do you see, Max? Yeah, what is your thoughts on that? Because we did ask for 120
120 cameras? And you're gonna give it, somebody bid 96 versus a guy bid 120?
Because then that company could come back and say, well, I would have just
I'm
bid
telling
96 then.
That's 25% more.
Valid question, Squire. Do we have to redo this bid?
I would say, I guess if you're awarding a bid for less cameras than was actually in the quote by 24 cameras,
That's 25% less.
to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and that's fine. Don't have a problem at all rebidding it.
So we'll table
But it
this.
wasn't intentional, it was
Yeah,
clerical.
no, but it's a valid point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, honestly, if I was one of those companies,
Sure.
I wouldn't say that's not what I would bid it.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and we'll table that one, and, if you could rebid that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Y'all good with that? Court good with that?
I'd like to see if it goes back out, then that we specify that we want all of the old cabling removed as part of the project. If that was sort of up to the contractor, that's an important element.
It's fine. Alrighty. Major, thank you. Are you
Thank
doing
you.
this next one, or is this Laura?
I can handle it. It's our inspection contract every year for our fire suppression systems, our sprinkler systems, our portable fire extinguishers, our range hood inspections. It's just time to re-up.
Yep. And it's a budgeted item?
It is, Amy has the information. We're actually on the docket for the 30th for approval to move some stuff into the maintenance line item.
So while we're still on this, and I see Amy is in the audience, so obviously, Amy, if all three were to have gone through, we would have had a deficit in the budget of 52,681. That would come out of reserves, I'm assuming.
Unless the jail has a line on it, we do. Okay,
Oh,
so it'll be
you have the money for that too?
We do. Because we hadn't come before the court to ask for it to be moved yet. Your Honor,
Okay.
And that's why.
Perfect. Okay. Good deal.
Judge?
Yes. Bar
We
with
have a
me.
little bit of more discussion about, I'm just a little concerned about the isolation valves again, about how that's going to be phased into the jail. We're ramping up, we're about to approve a federal contract. Thankfully, we're in the warm part of the year, but with the concerns we've had with this facility, I'm wondering how you all will be able to manage moving inmates to accommodate if there's a problem beyond what's expected and water has to be on for an extended period of time to a certain week. Or how, have you had talks with the contractor about how you can manage all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
And essentially, they're not going to come in and shut us down for a week to do this. Obviously, they're going to come in during normal business hours. Their plan is to shut the water for about 5 hours, which we will make plans for inside the jail so we can carry on business as usual, bottled water, things of that nature. They're going to isolate particular sections of the jail, so at no time will all of the jail be out of water. So they're going to drain down one section, they'll replace as many valves as they can in that allotted time, and then they'll recharge the system, do their checks, make sure there's no leaks, everything has worked out the way it's supposed to, and then they'll leave and come back and do it again tomorrow.
And what type of warranty are they guaranteeing us on their work if there's a break in another area that they say wasn't part of their scope within a week or so?
Well, I mean, obviously, they're being paid for the valves but the importance of having them there, we will incur a cost if we have a pipe that's 14 feet away from the valve that ruptures because of the drain down or the charge back up. But that's a risk that you run. So if that pipe splits, they will have that material on hand, on the truck to make that repair.
I'm just wondering, that the project, not necessarily, but there's potential for it to creep quite a lot depending on what they get into, right? And I don't know how we manage it. It would seem to be an instance if there's significant additional work that we would need to bid or somehow anticipate prior to installation, some of that.
I think they'll find that out real quick, the first area
You know-
they shut
you know
off,
what?
and if it goes sideways
Well,
real bad,
they're-
then we need
you know
to
what I
talk.
mean?
Yes, sir, they're
You know.
very well aware. I'll tell you what has caused a lot of the corrosion in the pipes, and a 10-foot run of pipe, you're probably not gonna have much issue. I mean, it'll last as long as it lasts unless you have rust issues. But in this particular case, because the valve started leaking, it started corroding, that's what starts eating away at the pipes on both ends. So they're very aware, they've come down and looked, and they're prepared for issues on each side of that valve if they have to put in a new piece of threaded pipe or whatever the case may be. The likelihood of a pipe 14 feet away just bursting during charge, I won't say it doesn't exist, but, you know,
And it's
who
a
can
big
say,
company.
I don't see that
they
happening
would do a lot
7
of our
times a
stuff
day.
anyways. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Is, is there someone actively flushing that fire hydrant outside every month? There was a.
Yes, sir. About probably a month ago, FPV came out at our request to do it.
And I'm wondering if maybe these folks can give us some thoughts as they're working on the system about how the water pressure is in the jail and what kind of sediment and things we're seeing.
Yeah, I
In
would
the lines
I would
as they're
suspect
working.
that that's going to be something very important to them. Like I said, fortunately, this is HMC, who's been a trusted partner of the county for decades.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and they're very reputable. And something I'll discuss later, they are really watching out for
Yep.
their customers, so.
Good deal. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Oh, sorry, Tanner.
Yeah, I do have one. Is there a completion date in the contract?
For the isolation valves, it really
Yeah, for the
depends. Yes, sir. It really depends on what kind of trouble they run into. That's why it's a not to exceed price, meaning no matter what trouble they run
Well-
into, it can't go over that price. So if the drain down and the charge back up is successful every day without issues, then the project will complete quicker. But they're gonna wanna get it done as quickly as possible because they wanna go on to other jobs.
But there is no time certain in there?
No, sir, there's no end date, but, like I said, it would be really hard for them to project that until they start, bleeding down and then charging the system.
But we don't want them to walk away from a project for 6 months and get into the winter. Can we add an end date, end clause, not to exceed 6 months or something?
We can cut the contract. They don't get paid. I mean, if they come work for a couple of days, that's
They
great.
wanna get
The
it
job's
done. They wanna get it done.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Okay,
They spend 6 months on us, that's,
yeah,
5 months of other work they could be doing,
Yep.
so.
good deal. Thank you. All right, I think Ally had to excuse herself for, oh, there she comes.
Contracts.
Ally, there she comes. There she is. We were all gonna stand up and clap when you walked in, but we're all too tired.
Still can,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for dumpsters.
Yeah.
I mean it.
No, she's a trash girl.
She is.
She's like the trash whisperer now.
Yeah.
She's the dumpster whisperer because every time I go, there is something
They're like,
happening.
Ally, Duke and I have been on three-way calls, and
Thank
it
you,
seems
thank you,
like.
thank you.
Well,
She
thank
is
you
more than-
guys for keeping an eye on them and letting me know, because I can't be everywhere at once, so I really appreciate everyone's help a lot.
Before you start, I do want to personally thank you for everything you've done. It's been a lot the last couple of days. I know you weren't with us the first couple of days of the storm, but you jumped right in once you got back, so it's appreciate. And I want to do a shout out to Republic. You know, I think they stepped up. They brought other drivers in from other states. That's why we're flipping these dumpsters so fast, and it's going well, so thank you.
Yeah, they've really come through
Yep.
lately, so it's been nice.
All right, what do you have for us tonight?
All right, today I have a request to apply again for environmental educator. We were able to apply late last year in the cycle, but typically the application's due in May. So we're looking at that again. The only change that we're seeing is the cost is an increase by a couple $100s. So would be 4,725 instead of 4,500 for a 900-hour member. Okay.
Question for- and let's not forget, on our current AmeriCorps, is being paid from Republic. Right, so have you talked to them about potentially paying this one too?
Yes, I talked to them first week of May, and they've agreed to do that, and so
Yep.
it's great.
absolutely.
We plan to, once we get approval, so from AmeriCorps, then we'll send them an invoice, and they send us a check. That's how it worked last time, so.
Perfect. Perfect.
Ally, is that $10,000 educational component of our contract with Republic, is that effectively them just giving us that money back?
Yep, that was the negotiation is, it's in the contract that we can spend $10,000 on this.
Yep.
So it is part of that, and then the rest of it, we're looking at, doing, tote bags with what's recyclable on the side, so it's still open to discussion with that.
Squire Whistle's point, it's really our money anyways.
It's our money that they're not fulfilling part of the contract.
Well,
We
it's
found
not
another
them, but they
alternative.
didn't, they're new to the game and they have been doing it, but our last hauler was not
Was
doing
not,
it, so
yes.
yes. Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everything that you're doing to make sure those dumpsters get flipped and turned over. I want to give a special shout out to Abby. She did not only a great job when she was going to the schools to take care of that recycling and making contacts there at the schools. She's done a phenomenal job with that. She did a phenomenal job at the Easter egg hunt, kind of leading the bags for the kids and making partnerships. Both of you all did a great job with that. So I just want to thank you all so much for that and everything that she's doing, outreach into the community. She's doing a phenomenal job.
Okay,
I think
thank
she's
you.
even covering city schools now, which,
Is she?
yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
she'll be at Bondurant Middle tomorrow. She's doing an upcycling craft with them.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, it's really good.
More kids we can get in front of, the better our recycling program will end up, so.
Yeah.
All righty, Ally, thank you.
All right, thank you
Oh,
guys.
Squire Tanner, I'm sorry.
Well, it's kind of borderline question, but the hazardous waste disposal coming up Saturday, is that correct?
Yeah, great call. Do a
Yep.
shout out there. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
And I want to make sure I understand everywhere, I got a can of paint I need to get rid of really bad.
Is it interior paint, like wall paint?
No, it's oil-based.
It's
metal.
oil-based paint, okay.
Squire Harrod said you just put it back in his truck, he'll take care of it.
Well, I can do that too, but I brought it, but anyway, where are those sites? You've told me 7 times, maybe I remembered on the 8th one.
No, you're fine. 8 to 12 on Saturday, Rouse Avenue. The facility's back open. So we're doing it there like we normally do. So that'll be good. And then we are marking who is coming through the line affected by flooding and who isn't. And we will send that data to FEMA because we expect the hazardous waste quantities to be higher than normal, which we have, I think $7,000 of grant funds left for this event, and we usually pay about $4,000 over. We split it with the city, but we're anticipating if it's more, we're keeping all the receipts for FEMA and hoping not to have to eat that cost too much, so.
Hey, Ally, real quick before I call in Squire Blackburn, can you go ahead and talk about what's going on this weekend? Because I know there's been some things moved around because of flooding, and if I would've thought about it, we'd put up on the screen, and maybe we can before the end of the night, but why don't you talk about Saturday especially?
Yeah, I was on Cable 10 today doing my segments. That'll go out Friday, so hopefully everyone kind of hears what's going on. But Reforest is rescheduled. It's at the Farmers Market Pavilion under the KSU tent from 10 to 2. I won't be there, I'll be at Hazardous Waste, but these trees got ordered and they have to get in the ground within a certain time frame. So we can't push it back much further, so we're thankful that the Farmers Market's working with us on that. 10 to 2, people can come get a tree. We have, I think, 675 to give away, so we're excited about that. And there will be a couple exhibitors and some info. Liberty Hall is hosting Together Frankfurt's Earth Day event. We're keeping an eye on the weather. Abigail will be tabling there, and that is from 10 to 2 as well. And so we're hoping with the Reforest giveaway, we're hoping to encourage people to go to the farmer's market from 10 to 11:30 and shop, as well as check out Earth Day at Liberty Hall. So hazardous waste is at Rouse Avenue, and then we have dumpsters Owenton Road Fire Station, Lakeview Park, Evergreen Road Fire Station, help me out. Where else?
Old Peaksville School.
Old Peaks Mill School, and Ball Knob Fire Station. Yep. So that's for bulk trash disposal for any reason. The other dumpsters we've had out are for flood relief FEMA specific. So those are different line items and invoices, and we're encouraging residents to use them for the intended purpose.
Perfect. Barb Blackburn.
You had mentioned that Rouse Avenue was back open. Are they at full capacity? Are they fully open?
So I will let everyone know if they are taking cardboard and stuff at Rouse Avenue once I go there and check it out. I haven't heard yes or no, but the facility itself is finished, so we can host with the cars coming through. And then we have a solid waste task force meeting early May, and I'm hoping that I'm going to ask them to be ready to kind of share their update on recycling, because it was supposed to be by now, and I'm guessing that flood relief has put us all behind, so that's where we're at.
Bar Harry.
With all that new information, can you just maybe tomorrow send something out that we can all reshare and put out on our pages? Because a lot of people look at that for information.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Thank you. And
Yep.
thank you for all the dumpster work and everything you've done. It's been a great help. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Ally, a couple other elements, scrap metal
Yes.
is, and when, what days is scrap metal and hazardous waste?
So scrap metal starts tomorrow. We got Thursday, Lakeview Park from 8 to 4:30. That's with Franklin County Conservation District. Friday, 8 to 4:30, and then Saturday, 8 to 12. So that's 3 days of scrap metal collection. And there's dumpsters at Lakeview as well, just for bulk disposal on Saturday.
And the hazardous waste is what days?
And it's just Saturday from 8 to 12 at Rouse Avenue.
And are we taking tires this year in any way?
So that's a state event.
Yep.
Yep, so we had that in the fall.
So
Anything else?
I have a question. People are going to bring tires just to be bringing them. Are they going to tell them they can't take them? Or are they going to take them and we distribute them, get rid of them at the road department? Or
I'll check with Byron, but the last 3 events I've been at, we haven't had a problem with
Okay, good.
tires. We really try to push that we don't take tires, we don't take used motor oil. That can go to an auto retailer. Latex paint's not hazardous, and what's the other big one? I feel like I've just been saying this for months now, and I'm getting rusty. But yeah, tires hasn't been too much of a problem.
Okay.
But we don't take them.
It's just nice to reiterate that we're not actively taking
Yeah.
tires this year at that event.
All right. Ally, thank you.
All right,
All
thank you
right,
guys.
next I believe Autumn. You have a special guest here.
I do. So this item is an amendment to our existing contract for engineering services with HMB for a scope of work for professional engineering services for the Forks of the Elkhorn wastewater collection system project. And I do have Brad here who can probably answer more questions than I can on this one.
So this is in Squire Dykes' neck of the woods. I think y'all remember this. We got the $2.8 million grant. We have a couple of individual people who are gonna put some money towards this project also. Brad, what am I missing? Anything? No. So your fee here, or Autumn, that's part of the overall project when it was budgeted, right?
It is originally the budget.
Why don't you come on up, because the microphone, I'm gonna get in trouble if you don't come up.
So originally, the grant application was for, I'm not sure if the application was for 2.8, but that's what was awarded from the General Assembly. And that did include this design fee and several other aspects of the project, including construction. But as you noted, it didn't cover the full cost of the construction.
Yep.
So there's some components that the city has agreed to fund. We have, I think we're in the process of finalizing that interlocal agreement with them, or assistance agreement. If it's not final already, I apologize. Not sure. And then we also have some private contributions from a couple property owners in the area that we're intending to work on their own private sewer systems, and they're going to take that money and invest it in a larger project.
Thank you. Squire Sebastian has her hand up.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks so much for coming.
Sure.
I'm over on the work order.
Yep.
Looking at that and kind of looking at the fees. So there are a couple of things in there, and I'm just kind of wondering about that. If, looking at this overall scope, it's probably about 20% of the project, somewhere in there, rough math. And there are a couple of things like advertising, and then there's another one for funding administration. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the funding administration, because as I understand it, my assumption is the funds come to the fiscal court. Are you all administering this on behalf of the court, or just so I understand?
Funding administration was most likely grant compliance. There's a lot of reporting that you have to do because this is a grant that's coming through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. So there's a lot of reporting. It's basically just assistance with that reporting. It's what you would sometimes contract with an ad district to do. But we regularly provide those services to our clients on these wastewater projects as part of the project.
And the ad did reach out. They were really hungry to get this part of it, but then after talking to HMB and Belinda, we said, we can handle this one ourselves without paying another person to do it. So basically, I think Belinda's gonna be helping too. So a lot of it is their support.
Yep,
Yeah,
because that's
Gotcha.
ultimately where it goes, I understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate us being
Now,
able to share that story.
we are gonna let the ad continue, Farmdale project, because they've been on that so long.
I understand.
And it takes all hands on deck on that one, but that one's getting close also.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, hopefully
Thank you.
the next month or two we'll be coming with that one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Okay, Autumn, I'm assuming you're gonna do this next one?
Yes, I'm back for the next one. So the next item that you have is a second reading and approval of the ordinance amending the table of special ordinances, Section 1 zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 2.94 acre property at 2440 Stedmantown Lane from an agricultural AG district to a rural residential RR district. The property is further identified as PVA map number 08300000037.02. We had a first reading last month, so I just asked for your approval.
Yep, alrighty, so we didn't have much discussion last meeting, and I'm assuming we can only discuss what's in here, and I'm not gonna get anybody in trouble. Squire Blackburn.
This is your district. Do you have anybody calling you with concerns or?
No, remember, Max, don't think asking that anymore.
Oh,
Only consider what was in the record.
I got
Planning commission.
Did you learn that when I got in trouble last week?
You mean for saying that you got no calls?
Yeah.
Kelly's gonna say she got no calls?
Everything's good.
Like that?
So, why everyone's pondering this, I wanna thank Autumn and her team and planning and zoning. No. Sorry, I'm trying to rein everybody back in
Just
here.
trying to.
So let me change subjects. So changing subjects so we don't get in trouble. I want to thank Autumn and her staff because let me tell you, after this event, we really realized how important our electrical inspectors and our building inspectors have become. So as I think I said earlier, Greg Owens had to go out and condemn 6 houses. Autumn was with them. They've done a lot of bank stuff, looking at banks. And sorry, my language isn't real good because I'm tired. Marty even worked 8 hours on Saturday to get caught up on electrical inspection. So one of the things people didn't realize, if any of their breaker box or meter got wet, it would have to be replaced. So we had to set up a hotline. Autumn and I are going to do, we talked earlier, video tomorrow, because now one of the things we just remembered or figured out is if anybody's ready to rebuild, they have to go to Division of Water first because they're all in the floodplain. And there's paperwork to be done there. So we're gonna do a little video tomorrow. So long story short, planning and zoning has been clutch in this whole process as we kind of slowly are gonna start rebuilding people's homes and areas. So it's been a lot of work on them. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team because y'all have done a very, very good job.
Thanks, they're doing a great job.
Squire West.
Judge, since you're on it, there's been a little bit of a rumor mill going about, the electrical inspection process and what that means if your electric's off for over 30 days and bringing everything up to code at that point and so on. Since you're mentioning it already, could we specify here just a little bit about that process and what the expectations are right now? I've had several people in Bell Point area specifically really concerned about what that's going to mean to them in the long run here, that, and some aren't quite to that point of even being able to address that situation yet. They're still cleaning
And
out.
I think a lot of those have to do with how much water was actually in the homes, if it went over the plugs, if it got into the wiring. A lot of the boxes, especially in, out in the county and down in South Frankfurt, they're in the basement. So that's an easy one because we know those were all hammered, So I think there's a questionnaire when they call that hotline, things to, the person answering the phones there is literally around the clock. They're answering the phones or answering a bunch of questions. And then, Autumn, what am I missing on this? I mean, there's some things that they're probably going to have to look at.
I think that maybe that questionnaire may change going forward a little bit because we're kind of getting into a different phase of things. Whereas, with the first turning folks back on, it was folks who had a smaller amount of water maybe and less damage. But as we're getting to those folks who had a huge amount of water and a huge amount of damage, there are other safety aspects and other reconstruction aspects to take into account before the electrical can come back on. And all those moving parts and going through that permitting process with the state and with us and with building permits and all of that. So we're going to really work hard on trying to figure out sort of how that order of operations all works out. I'm not familiar with the 30-day requirement, so that would be something I would defer to Marty on. So that's something we'll look into for sure.
We are going to waive all fees during this time so we can try to get people up and going. We don't want to kick them while they're down. So we are waiving all fees. Well, like earlier, Autumn, we talked briefly. Somebody called to have an electrical inspection. They replaced their breakers. They're ready to go. Marty or Sonny went there, and the drywall was off. Studs were barely there. Wires hanging all over the place. So, yes, they kind of did what they were supposed to do for the electric, but it didn't meet our building codes right now. So there's going to be a lot of instances where I think the inspector's actually going to have to go out and just say, yeah, you all did what we asked you to do, but it's not up to building code yet. So, there's going to be a lot of gray areas, and I hate gray areas, but wouldn't you agree?
Right. I think having like a large amount of like hot exposed wires, when there's no drywall and that kind of thing is something that's, a major safety concern.
And a lot of things, when you use a licensed electrician to come out, they will know the codes. They'll know what it needs to be. They can tell you up front. They can tell you what's going to pass, what's not going to pass. So be sure and use that. I mean, people are trying to save money, I understand, but electrical is something you don't want to fool with if you don't know what you're fooling with. So use a licensed electrician.
Judge, is the plant board going to help out potentially with temporary service poles, to get people operational at least to be able to work on their homes?
Yeah, we have already done a handful of those if somebody opts to do that. Like I was down on Big Eddy 2 days ago, and the gentleman's thinking about just taking a house down and rebuilding, up on stilts and stuff. And he asked that. He said, can I do a temporary pole? And just right before that, I saw him already, half mile down the road, putting a sticker on one where somebody was trying to rebuild their house. So yes, that is an option. Yes. Now, I don't know what plant board's doing. I don't know what their fees are. We haven't got into that. That's a complete separate deal. But as far as our side of it, yes, they will do temporary poles.
Thanks, and I'll forward other comments to you all, but there's just the rumor mills began in one area that I'm trying to combat some of those concerns.
Yep.
So, thank you.
They happen, especially in times like this. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do a video tomorrow. We're going to try to address as many things as we can moving forward. And I had a really good talk with Division of Water yesterday, and Franklin County they know they're going to try to get these things pushed out pretty quick so it doesn't slow people down. So still part of the process. And I asked her if we could get around it, and she said no. Federal guidelines, so I tried.
Judge, not specific to this zoning change request, but I have a question or a comment. I guess I would like to, as an example, since we're on a zoning change, this is the largest map in this specific request that has maybe properties within, 6 or 8 adjoining parcels in either direction. For future zone changes, I'd really like to start seeing a map in the application that at least comes to the Planning Commission and us that looks at a much broader swath of area.
Sure.
There may be rhymes and reasons for lines and differentiations that include something that doesn't necessarily get seen when you zoom in. Why a residential area is where it is, maybe because it's a stream that's suddenly down just, a couple parcels over. So if you could, if you start doing that, I'd appreciate it with all of these
that makes
applications.
sense.
Autumn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amy, you like half a page here. I mean, you've just been waiting on this meeting, huh?
I have.
Wow, look at that.
So if you'll remember back in February, Greg with Charles T. Mitchell came and presented our fiscal year '24 audit. He forgot to include this. So he offered to come present it, but I told him I could do it. It's a compliance exam for our coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. And Charles T. Mitchell says, in our opinion, Franklin County Fiscal Court complied.
So, to our Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Madam Treasurer, do you know, was this included with the cost of the other audit? Because I saw in here in the
Yes.
bills, there are two audits,
Yes.
Sheriff's Office, and there's another audit, and I didn't know if this was
Well,
just separately priced.
It was included in the Charles T. Mitchell invoice.
Okay.
Now, the state had to review Charles T. Mitchell's audit.
So that's what that was
That's what you
for.
see the state
All right,
for.
I saw that in there,
Yeah.
that's separate, and I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah.
just for that or this. All right, thank you.
All right, Amy, let's go ahead to the next one.
So the next is, we had a 6-month CD for 1.5. That is the money set aside for Farmdale. That's ARPA money. In speaking with Belinda, they believe we can go ahead and invest that for another 6 months. So I'd like authorization to reinvest that for 6 months.
All righty, next one.
And the next is the quarterly report that has been filed with Department of Local Government, and that's just to show you that I have filed that. The next item is the second reading for amendment number 2. Our first reading was on February 26. It has been approved by the Department of Local Government, and I'm bringing it to you for the second reading. The next agenda item is the first reading of amendment number 3. And I'm amending in the proceeds from the surplus auction. Also, a grant and insurance proceeds. With this amendment, the budget for fiscal year '24-25 will increase by $359,000 and total $56.4 million. If you exclude capital expenses and federal projects, it'll increase by $109,000 and total $38 million.
Okay.
And my last agenda item is the treasurer's report. Included in your packet is the report for the 9 months ending March 31st, 2025. Receipts, $28.8 million. Expenditures, $28.7, leaving us with an excess of $114,000. Adding in the fund balance of $29.9, giving us an ending balance of $30.1 million. Also in your packet are revenues and expenses as of April 10th.
Any questions for Amy on any of these items, really? Huh?
Revenue's head.
Yeah, amen to that.
I do have one question.
All right, Janet.
And I should have asked this question for a long time before now, apparently. On 01413456, the payroll city tax agreement, there wasn't any money budgeted and we've collected nearly $800,000. I probably should have wanted to know why we didn't budget any, or is that?
I really budget that in with the line item above that, the payroll tax, the 4134,
Okay,
the 6.5.
okay. So it's budgeted in that number, but it shows up down here as basically $800,000
Yeah.
right in.
I like to keep those separate since that is the share that comes from the city.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty what it says, basically through the agreement.
Amy, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, payment of claims. Does anybody have any questions for our clerk, Kim, tonight on payment of claims? Alrighty, seeing none. Authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.8101CF. Discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of public agency. Discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are in closed session. black in here. They're back on, but it still says closed session. Yeah, and we need to make sure. No, hold on, stop.
Oh.
Yes, motion to go back into open session. So, sorry, yeah, second. All those in favor say aye. All right, all those in favor say nay. We're open session. Okay, Ashley, you are at authorization to approve an appointment of a maintenance assistant Does anybody have any questions on that with Ashley? About hiring a new person at our maintenance man? What? Okay, seeing none. All right, next one.
Judge, I'll just make a comment that, again, I think the position that's coming in at a salary that's too low, and I think it's imperative that we start to do this comprehensive study of our salary schedule that I've asked for time and time again.
Okay. All right, next one, authorization for the reclassification of the road department to fleet manager.
So it's an administrative assistant position currently. There is an incumbent that is in that role. That person has been in the role for just a little over a year now. And again, I just encourage you, when we're doing a reclassification, we want to focus on the position, not the person, right? So we won't necessarily be talking about that incumbent this evening. But the position has really expanded since this person since this position started, from an administrative assistant role. That was, primarily, I don't want to say clerical, but support in nature for Duke, as well as, operations. There was some grant work involved with the role. The position entailed working on a database for managing the fleet, and that's really kind of how things kicked off and how the role started to expand. We additionally anticipate, as the road department takes on the servicing of more vehicles, fire trucks, other departments within the county, we definitely foresee this role expanding even more. So I did study the position. And we are recommending a reclassification of the position of administrative assistant to fleet manager, because that is expanding the scope of the role. We are recommending a pay increase for the current incumbent. And point of question, may I say that amount? Yes. So the recommended pay that we are proposing for this position is $26.34 an hour. Of course, changing the title from administrative assistant to fleet manager. The FY25 impact will be approximately $1,200. And then the FY26 impact will be approximately $65,000. And again, that's going to include your benefits and your retirement and pension on top of that amount.
Any questions? I know we've kind of talked about fleet management since before we started that building. That's our intention, is to start taking care of all the fleet down there, which this person will be in charge of, keeping all the files, all the information, when people contacted people, when they need oil changes, tires, stuff like that. And I think we have a potential to maybe even turn a little bit of revenue, talking to maybe the health department and other agencies that we would be able to charge for services in the garage. So
That's a great idea.
Yep. All right, thank you, Ashley. I guess the next one, I'm excited about this next one. We've been working on
Oh,
this
you're a
one.
judge, yes, it's been a big priority for Judge.
Yeah.
So this is in regards to Paycor, which is in short kind of commonly referred to as our payroll system. The system also provides data management, employee data management as well. This is not an amendment to the current service agreement. This is a one-time service agreement that we are requesting. It is just under $5,000. We're looking at $4,900 for the services. And the reason that we are engaging these services is the system hasn't been fully utilized the way that we would like it to be rather. We have some very complicated pay programs, and I'll use fire as an example. They have a 56-hour on average work week. They have incentive on top of incentive, holidays, double time, etc. And so we're really, needing their help to help us build these plans. So in essence, the system will be more automated, and it's really going to it's going to be extremely more efficient for sure. And then, so that'll be the first phase. The second phase we're going to be looking at is kind of doing a training phase for not only myself, but also the payroll administrator. And then we're going to roll out a lot of employee self-service functions. So we want our employees to be able to go in there and print their W-2 and look at their, change their direct deposit, update their address. And that's very, very common in my profession. That's just kind of a standard that you want to have for your employee population. And again, it's great from an efficiency standpoint. A big component that Judge has really been pushing for with this will be our timesheet process. So paper timesheets will go away. We will still be in compliant as a government entity. We do have to be able to provide the proof of the time that we're paying people. We would provide it through a spreadsheet, or, we would generate that from the system. But we'll be building security levels. So, we'll sit down with Paycor, we'll decide, who's going to approve this timesheet, who approves that on top of that. And so, it's really complicated. And so that's why it's really important from, again, an efficiency standpoint, and to not completely occupy my time and Vicky's time, that they're going to come in and do this for us, and they have quoted us a 1-month period of time to have it built. Don't hang your hat on that, though, because remember, I'm still going to have some training and rolling out to the employee users on top of that. But we have a, what did we say, Judge, July 1 goal.
July 1?
Yeah. So.
I love it, and I've used it, and the reports that you can get from it, it's just that fast. It's awesome.
It's good to have the self-help, whether you get on to it yourself,
Yes.
not have to rely on Paul and wait.
Call her to ask all the
Yeah. Yes, big time.
And they'll even set up, so the payroll's been a big thing, the time clocks has been a big thing for me. Because, like Jack said, I don't know where all these people are working, and he has to sign a stack of papers every 2 weeks. It's just a waste of time, it really is. So, but they'll set up the geofencing and everything, so let's say there's somebody in this building, they pretty much have to be in this building before they can clock in. So, they'll help set all that up also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what we've asked for is mobile punching, so that would include somebody's, personal device. We also anticipate having probably, some iPads, maybe at the road department, and then desktop punching too. So a lot of your administration personnel, the hourly personnel. Now, your exempt or your salaried people, those time cards are automatically generated, right, because we're salaried. So you actually can't pay a salaried person less than what their work is per year, unless they have to use leave or what have you. So it's going to be life-changing. Really excited
For the
about
better.
it. That's my final plug for you all to please approve.
All right, any questions for Ashley before we move on? All right.
Thank you.
Other business, do we have any other business?
Yes, one comment, we had our meeting at the road department the other day. I was not asking for anything, but just the information that Squire Harry, myself, and you, we talked about changing the way we're gonna wind up our road department, and to just, we're considering asking about tearing down that building and replacing it with a pole barn rather than trying to reskin it and argue with them over who's supposed to pay for it.
Is that the current maintenance shop?
Yeah, so what happened was, and Mr. Cordell apologized, because when we were in that meeting, kind of negotiating things with everybody, he just said, we could just skin it. Well, there's a lot more in it than to just skin that building because of regulations and roof weights and stuff like that. So, what we talked about, and these two gentlemen talked to Duke about, was, and originally we talked about just doing a new pole barn there anyways, using the existing slab and just putting a pole barn up. So basically, we can take the credit back from Codell, and it'll pretty much pay for a brand new pole barn. Same size, 40 by 60, everything they want. So that's what.
It's new construction. It's not falling down on one end, not on the other.
Yeah.
Roof not leaking?
Money wise, I think
Gotcha.
we'd be far ahead.
Yeah.
To replace the building and it's still not cost as much as what it would to reface it.
So I think it's our intention the next court, we'll probably bring an RFP.
Well, so you know it's coming.
Yeah.
We'll have to get a bid on the building.
But we kicked it around, and me and Rich were both adamant about why would we do that when we could put a new structure there and be done with it.
For the same money, it's already.
For the same money.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, anything else before we go into voting session?
Yep.
Couple things. I'm wondering if you can give us an update on FEMA assistance.
We're
When we get
waiting.
into
We got a call from DC today, and it's on the president's desk, and they were hopeful it was going to be this afternoon, but it wasn't, obviously, because I would have got a call. So we're hoping. We do need to kind of set expectations right now, because I think people think FEMA's going to save them, and that's not what we're hearing from, Mitch McConnell's office and things. So Red Cross has stepped up. I think Red Cross has some pretty good relief. We don't know if there'll be buyouts and floodplains and stuff. We just don't know yet. Once we get the queue and get the signature, we'll have all the information, and we're going to dump it out as fast as we can.
Can you give us an idea of, I think it's going to be important to leave the emergency declaration in place for a fairly substantial period of time, considering FEMA's not actively assessing things? Or
FEMA is here.
They are here, I
working.
know.
We just
but
don't, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the declaration isn't signed. Can
Yep.
you give us an idea of how long have you had discussions of how long that's going to stay in place?
No, have not. I mean, typically, probably for a while. I mean, this is going to be a long cleanup. I mean, there's over 514 homes affected, so we're still trying to, there's a handful that have been totally destroyed, the 6 that have been, shut down, so we're still trying to figure those out. We're finally getting, because American Red Cross has done a lot of the assessments, our inspectors have done assessments, Emergency Management's done assessments, and one other national organization that was here. So now they're kind of compiling all the information together. So that's hopefully in the next day or two, we'll have a lot better information, and I'll be happy to send it out to the court moving forward. But we hopefully have housing figured out for a while through the state. Like I said, we had a meeting yesterday to talk about, so the community fund has about $100,000 in it right now, and I know there's some big corporations. I spoke to the hospital today. There's getting ready to hopefully be some pretty big money dropped in it. So we're trying to figure out what organizations locally, nonprofits, are going to help vet the applications and kind of help distribute, because the Bluegrass Fund that's helping us hold the money, they can't legally just cut everybody a check. They have to give it to a nonprofit that then distributes the money willingly. So one thing that I did, I think you all saw, where Perry County Judge Executive brought that semi supplies yesterday. They've been through 14 disasters in his 11 years. So I reached out to him today, and he said, hey, if you need anything. So I called him today. I said, Scott, I need something already. And I said, you all have gone through this. You set up a community fund very similar. So I just tonight got the contact for the person who managed their funds. So I'm going to hook them up with some of our people. So we're not reinventing the wheel, because we've already seen people taking advantage of our shelters who maybe were homeless before, and now they're saying they're flood victims, but they're not really. We've had people come through the pick-pack and trying to get multiple supplies to potentially sell them. I've had people report things on when it really early happened, and we got the MREs. Some of those ended up on social media for sale. There's nothing legally we can do because the government gave them out. So we're being, mindful of all those things as we move forward. So we're all working together. We're working hard. We're all figuring it out, but I'm not afraid to ask for help and ask for other communities to, how did you all do it? Because you've been through it before, so.
My last question, I'm just wondering if you've made any funding decisions for using during the emergency declaration that we should know about, and if you expect to need to make any declarations for funding.
Not as of right now, other than payroll and comp time, and I know they had a big meeting the other day. We've had multiple meetings over the last 12 days to make sure everybody's keeping track of it and how they're identifying it. And I think Belinda had you all had a meeting the other day just to re-emphasize on every department head, if you're doing anything, or like today, we had a road department helping the city part of the day. They're putting that down as their time, and they're clocking everything, and they're tracking everything. So that's our biggest thing right now is labor. Other than dumpsters, we'll maybe have a bill with that, but hopefully it'll be reimbursed through FEMA. But other than that, no, I haven't spent any money per se.
Okay. Well, I think it's, not funny, but we had a conversation about rainy day fund and why we keep those funds there just the same week that this hit us. And I, for one, am interested in us having a conversation about using some of those funds to make our community whole as much as possible. So
yeah, I think we
That's
wanna,
not maybe yet, but it's coming.
yeah, and we just need to see, you know, what all the other organizations are gonna do, and what FEMA's gonna do, and, yeah, so. Squire Sebastian.
Just quickly, I can say that FEMA was here on the ground.
Yep.
They were on my street.
Yep.
When it was going through water, they had a boat and everything
Yeah.
going on my street.
No, they're definitely here,
When we
but
couldn't get out.
they're kind of waiting for the orders, you know? And then there will be another, and I can't remember all the names of people. Once that hits, and once we figure out all these organizations, there'll literally be a team of people that are gonna kind of go door to door. Right now, we're looking to make a hub. I don't want to say where it is yet, because we were still working things out, but we'll let you know. There's going to be one location where a lot of the services are going to be located with a parking lot that people can go there and fill things out and get help.
Squire Sebastian, I think, made a good comment that I got word that, you know, FEMA had left another part of Kentucky and were here the day that floodwaters crested, so they've been on the ground, so the community may think that FEMA isn't responding
Yeah.
yet, but they have been on the ground here the whole time and assessed the damage and photographed, and it's just, we're waiting on the.
And the way the
from
new
DC.
FEMA works too is a lot of the FEMA is funneled through the state emergency management. So we've had people in the command center since day one from the state emergency management. And so a lot of the FEMA stuff now floats through them until, you know, we get to this. Now, I will say, timeline-wise, talking to other communities, there's 86 counties that have been affected, but typically it's 2 to 3 weeks after the storm ends. So we're really kind of ahead of schedule. So, you know, everybody's anxious, but so I think it's our responsibility to kind of, you know, figure the expectations, you know, just manage expectations, and that's what I've been telling everybody. And, you know, I'm not trying to be bearer of bad news or anything, but I'm just trying to be a realist of, you know.
And Judge, just my last thing, I'm interested, maybe, you know, we can effectively establish a nonprofit just by an order or a resolution, if we need to. It is happening in communities where they've effectively recreated the old community chest through the county government to distribute funds that.
Right, well, I think that's why we're trying to use that community fund, you know, because they were already set up, and that's why they do, so.
But
we need to push that, you know, really, I think, a lot of people are like, hey, what do you need, what do you need? Supplies wise, actually, they're doing inventory today. We're looking pretty good. We are looking, you know, pretty good all in all. So when people call special organizations, I'm not shy to say we need money. Put money in that fund, because that's where people are gonna need help to get their electric back on, things like, we have plenty of clothes in all the churches. We have tractor trailers of water. I mean, we're doing pretty good in everything else. The end of the day, money, and Scott told me gift cards, because people will need groceries, they'll need food, they'll need to go get some clothes. So that's really the biggest things that people are pushing now.
One other question, I'm really interested in the potential.
You said it 3 times. You said that 3 times. I swear. 3 times.
I know we've asked community-wide for electricians and help in that manner, but I'm really interested if the court needs to hire someone as a part-time, if we have somebody willing to come in to help with those inspections and help that process.
I mentioned that the other day
really
because we
interested in
had
doing
somebody who's a licensed electrician / teacher reach out, and they kind of frowned upon that a little bit. So I think that number will be shared with some of these nonprofits. I don't think legally we can do it. So, because we're inspecting stuff too, you know? I mean, it's our electrical inspectors doing city and county.
Well, I meant on the inspection end more so, not the.
No, we're doing good there.
direct assistance.
Sonny and Marty are keeping up. Joe Pat from Scott County reached out right after this happened. He said, I have 3 inspectors. If you need one, I'll have you one tomorrow. Okay. So everybody, I've been talking to a lot of people in the state. Everyone's offering to help. And so we've been having meetings with Autumn and Marty and Sonny, and it's like, if you all can't handle it, let us know, and we'll get somebody there tomorrow. But I think because people are having to go through Division of Water to get that certification, plus there's only so many electricians, there's only so many parts, it's kind of slowed some things down a little bit, which is, you know, helping them keep up, you know, probably doing 20 a day or so. Autumn, wouldn't you say that's pretty accurate? Okay.
I mean, that's quite a few.
Yeah, it is. So, and some of those, you know, out of the 20, there might be 4 or 5 that the people lied. No, it wasn't underwater. And they get there and you see a watermark. So, you know, people are
All
still.
they gotta do is take that box off.
Oh, yeah,
They know.
it rusts pretty quick,
That's
so.
all they gotta do.
Alrighty, we ready to roll into closed? I mean, closed, good
Hit
Lord.
it.
Voting. Sorry. I'm struggling here. I'm struggling. It's been a long 12 days. Okay. Clerk, please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Harrod.
Here.
Squire Tanner.
Here.
Squire Wisman.
Present.
Judge Miller.
Present, thank you, clerk. Authorization for approval of minutes from the regular meeting of March 19th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of minutes from the special meeting of April 1, 2025.
Here. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the county clerk's quarterly report ending March 31, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Come on, Court.
All those in favor say aye. All those
wake
opposed
up.
say nay. Authorization to receive the sheriff's 2024 excess fees.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to award a bid to HMC sole bidder for replacement of isolation valves within the jail.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say
Judge,
aye.
just if I can comment, I'm really concerned that bid is not sufficient. And I would like to see any additional clarification that can possibly be made, written as part of this process, once we approve this. However that happens, I'll leave it up to you to administer, but I would like to see more documentation there, exactly what they replace.
Huh? No, this isn't the one.
No, this is the other one.
That's it.
This is, yeah,
Valves.
the one we're gonna, yeah.
Well, that valve was.
I'll talk to Major LeMay. I think we can get that. I think they'd be happy to get that. They do all kinds of work for us, and, you know, if he's running the project, and obviously he's very thorough, you know, he feels good about it, but I'll
I
have
think they
him.
can document it through the process. I wish we would have had that as part of the bid, though.
I do that. All right, okay. Sorry, did we have first and a second on that one yet?
Dykus Blackburn, yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This one's good. No.
This one's yes.
The authorization to award a bid to Advanced Systems Technology, sole bidder for replacement of boards for the main control and control tower within the jail.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So do I want to do a
Judge, I
mo-
move to reject the
Yeah, thank
bids for the next item due to the discrepancy in the advertising.
Okay. Do I have a second on
Second.
that? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Squire. Authorization to approve an agreement between the Franklin County Regional Jail and Amtech Life Safety.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the filing of an application as an AmeriCorps host site and designating the county judge executive to execute all documents pertaining to this application.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you to the AmeriCorps. They're doing great things. Authorization to approve an amended agreement with HMB Professional Services LLC for professional engineering services to add scope of work, project, and associated fee relating to the Forks of Elkhorn wastewater collection system project.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the table of special ordinances, section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 2.94 acre property located at 2440 Steventown Lane from Agriculture District AG to Rural Residential RR. The property is identified as PVA map number 083-00-00-037.02.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the audit report on compliance for the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program, CSLFRF requirements for an alternative CSLFRF compliance examination engaged at the Franklin County Fiscal Court of the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I didn't know that was read. I felt like a run-on sentence. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to authorize the treasurer to open a certificate of deposit for $1.5 million for 6 months on behalf of the Franklin County Fiscal Court to improve investment earnings.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you, treasurer, for making us money. Authorization to receive treasurer's quarterly report ending March 31, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Second reading and approval of amendment number 2 to ordinance number 4-2024 relating to budget for fiscal year 2024-2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. This is the first reading of an amendment number 3 to ordinance number 4-2024 related to budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. No vote at this time. Vote will be in our next court meeting. Authorization to receive treasurer's reports.
So moved.
Did you get that, clerk?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of claim. Is there a motion to deny any claim? No motion was made. Let the record reflect claims are to be paid. Authorization to approve the appointment of Kristen Slayback as maintenance assistant.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay, and we welcome her to our team. Authorization to approve the reclassification of the administrative assistant position in the road department to the position of fleet manager.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the amended agreement with Paycor to add scope of work, associated fee, and project for the re-implementation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes, and I'm excited for that project to bring us into 2025. Authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you, court.
Good one.